Welcome to Steal the Spotlight Radio, TV, and William Steele True Crime with my co-host Ignacio Esteban. Thank you for joining us, Ignacio.
Bill, what's going on, man? Another great show. Let's
Oh yeah, we
take
have
it
some
easy.
interesting topics today. We're going to roll right into them.
Really
Now,
good.
crazy breaking news on all fronts. Biden, this movie, Sound of Freedom's exploding. A
Hunter.
couple of things we're going to touch on.
Yeah.
So, what's going on with Biden? I heard the plea deal is falling apart. What the heck?
Hunter Jr., he's getting himself in trouble again. His old man's already in trouble. Now he's getting himself back in trouble again. He had a sweetheart deal, for those who don't know,
Mhm.
for misdemeanor tax charges, which should have been felony tax charges for not paying his fair share of taxes, not filing his taxes for years, right? Not filing his taxes for years. And of course, his documented drug use, being an addict, lying on an ATF form 4473, saying he wasn't a drug user and a drug addict, and get himself a firearm, a handgun, which he had in possession, which is a big problem. And then at the end, the judge was questioning about, I think, the pretrial diversion about the firearm weapon, which is kind of rare. You don't see that often, and some other issues about the weapon charges, and the whole deal fell apart. It fell apart. So now they have to reschedule for September. We'll see what happens. Maybe he'll get stuck with a felony. I hope he does, because that's just unbelievable. You don't see that often, because normally that's hashed out. He's reviewed everything. They reviewed everything. There's something more there that we don't know about.
Now, for my audience, let me refresh your memory. My co-host now and guest, for frequent guest but co-host now, join us every Saturday night live
Yeah,
at the same time, 8 o'clock. Ignacio just retired from ATF a little over a year ago. He's written 73 books. This man's familiar with the form. He even called it out by name, a 4473 form.
right. 44 ATF form, firearms transaction form 4473.
Right. So we're not just talking. We're not just talking heads. I was a law clerk in prison. I have a little knowledge of that end of things, the back end, and not a formal education in that. But Ignacio has the real world knowledge of what form was supposed to be filled out.
I've done a lot of cases.
Right. And he's done a lot of cases. And the thing is, from my understanding of talking to you before, when people do this and lie on those forms, that's the easiest case in the world to prosecute.
Yeah,
And it's
it's a
not
felony.
really entitled to a diversion program, which because
No,
he's the president's son, he was
that
given diversion.
there
Early
there we
news this
go.
morning, the judge, I think it's a woman,
Yes.
she decided not to accept the plea. I don't know everything she said. If you do, let's hear it. But the talking heads on the show on Fox were saying something along the lines like it was clearly a favoritism deal. It's inappropriate. There's
It's
other
a
things.
sweetheart deal.
There's other
Yeah.
things pending.
Yeah. But it's unusual because once it's agreed upon from both sides, it's pretty much slam dunk. So there was other issues there that weren't ironed out, and I think the gun charge has a lot to do with it, because not only did he lie in the form, not only did he have possession, so now he is a drug user in possession of a firearm, right? So there's a lot of factors in here where you don't get pretrial diversion. That is wrong. He was a guy, and if you look at the video, look at the pictures that came from his laptop, he had a serious drug problem. And him having weapons, not only is a danger, not only one time, you look at the picture of the video, there's a lot of times he had guns. Not only he should have been charged for those weapons, he could have killed himself or somebody else, or even his father. Maybe he got too close. You don't know.
Right.
This is a problem. This is a problem, folks. And I think this sweetheart deal, maybe at the end it bites him and it doesn't go through. But if you saw the press conference, I forgot her name, but she was saying, well, Hunter Biden's a private citizen. He has nothing to do with his father. Oh, please.
Right. They're finding everything to do with his father. Everything the father said has turned out to be a lie about no
Oh,
deal his
please.
son, and they're finding money going everywhere. So back to the gun thing. Now, me as a convicted felon, I know that I can't touch or buy a gun and
Sure.
not get an expungement and all that. Now, I kind of disagree with the laws on this, but I intend to obey them
Sure.
because I should, after showing maybe 5 years off probation, parole, or incarceration, and maybe with a couple of drug tests, show that I'm a normal citizen again and not living in the stupid criminal lifestyle that I chose.
You're right.
I should be able to, with proper training, own a firearm again.
Yeah,
You might disagree with that as an ATF agent, but I think maybe if I'm not a violent felon, which I'm not.
I have no problem with people getting the right to vote or hold firearms as long as they stay out of trouble, right?
Right.
But repeat violent offenders, mm-mm.
No, and it's understandable even to say if you're an active drug use or mental health crisis,
That's bad.
be able to buy them into form, ask you these questions. You know, you under, I guess, psychiatric care? Are you on medication? Like probably, you know. So the reasons are obvious. I had a bad cocaine problem in the '80s, and you don't want guns around you because I would be real paranoid. I thought everybody was a cop or out to get me. And I realized that I would just lock my guns in the safe because I didn't want to inadvertently like think somebody was coming to rob me and use a gun.
And kill somebody. And he
I,
also did you use crack cocaine, Bill?
I don't want to. I can't confirm or deny, but read between the lines.
Because
I dabbled in that. I dabbled in powder.
powder's a little different thing, but
Cocaine. It was always
people tell me
cocaine.
crack cocaine is more addicting, and it causes sometimes people because you see people who are addicts who do it socially, recreationally, right? They smoke, they snort a line here and there at parties, but the guys who had the crack pipe and really smoked it really messed them up bad. Do you remember the
I
mayor?
think the science behind that is because at the times I would smoke it or the times I would snort it, when you snort it, it takes hold slowly. You still get the same craving or what they call jonesing for more, but with the instantaneous
Correct.
elation,
Mm.
it's such a rapid euphoric feeling. You know, you just keep chasing it and chasing it and chasing it.
They said the
There
addiction
were
is
days I went
gross.
with no sleep, but I
Yes.
was the kind of person like I wasn't able to talk very well when I was on it, and I would lock myself in a hotel room away from the world. I rarely ever used it at home because I was embarrassed and ashamed of what I was doing. But I was, and so I struggled with this for quite a few years, and my family and people around me got
And,
fed
and
up
and
with it.
and what was your key to get off this stuff?
I think making your mind up in my case, like, enough is enough. It's just you look at your life and like, what's become of my life. In my case, I'm not saying long prison sentences are the answer, but in my case, I
I
got a
help you.
draconian 18-year sentence overall for non-violent crimes, and I lost contact with everybody who was supposed to matter in my life. They turned their back on me. I didn't see my kids. My
Hmm.
kids demonized me, even though they were part of a lot of the crimes I was committing. And they've never been convicted. I think well, one had a little bit of an issue, but they profited from the illegal things I was doing. Yet they demonized me to my children, and so I've lost that. My sisters told my mother I was, who was mentally ill, that I was dead, and not didn't mention I was in prison, so they can get her to sign trust agreements or whatever she signed,
I'm
and
sorry to hear that.
my inheritance.
Yeah.
So I lost everything by that amount of sentence I was given because I could not handle my own business. And once you're in prison, good luck convincing anybody outside to have sympathy or try to help you.
No, for sure.
It's almost
So, so,
impossible.
so
Gary Greenberg did.
you know from personal experience, I've seen it with cases that people who have bad addictions should not be around weapons.
Absolutely, absolutely. I shouldn't have been around them. I had them because I was stealing them from houses at times in Florida, and as you know, they could have charged me back in those days in the '80s and '90s when I was actively doing a lot of burglaries. They could have charged me with armed burglary. Armed burglary in Florida is like 30 years and up. That's serious. If you
You could
arm
get some
yourself,
more. You did enough time, but you could still be in the can.
yeah, Florida's so strict. My God, you could steal a steak knife or a fishing fillet knife from a house. They consider that armed burglary.
Yeah.
They can do what they want with that. So
So
it's harsh down there, and I didn't get charged or convicted for the guns, but yeah, we were even getting what the straw man purchases are. Uh,
yeah,
a friend of mine had strippers and college students with clean records
by
buying
the way.
numerous guns. I think at the time we were doing this, it was a Model 19. What's that? Smith and Wesson or a Colt or something?
Glocks, Glock 19s.
Oh no, it was the steel one, and some Glocks too, Glocks, and then
Sure, they're
get
very
the Mac
popular.
10s. Would you find Mac
That's
10s?
back in the 80s. Yeah, back in now everybody wants their Glocks, and they like Glocks are popular. Some people like the 6 hours. There's a lot of weapons out there. Smith and Wesson has a lot of popular weapons out there now.
Yeah, so
Uh,
go back to the reasons why, because from my
yeah,
point of view, you're super paranoid. Everybody's the enemy. I had the maybe intelligence after a while and presence of mind to realize the paranoia is induced by the drug. No one knows where the heck I'm at. Not the cops that have been looking for me, not my family. So nobody can send them there and tell on me.
yeah,
And I was imagining this, so I would just use the hotel safe and lock up the guns. You
yeah.
know,
You got to look at that laptop video. You should see how he looks. He looks horrible. He is in bad shape, and he has firearms in his hands. Dude, I'm
uh,
telling you, he could have committed himself in that paranoid state. you can commit House of Horrors.
Guess what? If his dealer is even over there,
Yeah.
his dealer could have stole the gun. It could have ended up on the street.
Most of these guys have no control. They steal everything from you, right?
Right. Exactly.
It's this is the problem Hunter Biden is, and then of course, what led later? Allegedly, he was clean and sober, but of course, we talked about the cocaine that appeared in the White House. Where do you think that came from? Yeah,
Did
I
you
think
see the video of him on the balcony about a week or two ago? He's on the balcony with the whole rest of the family, and he's doing this, and he's sweating and wiping his brow. Those are all the signs of somebody in active addiction.
yeah, he has something going on.
Allegedly, I'm a
Allegedly, yeah, yeah.
cocaine addict. I
We
never
don't know, but
we don't
it's
know.
hard. It's hard to
We
tell.
don't know. But everybody who has been there, done that, knows the signs, knows what it looks like, knows
And
how it's feeling in that moment. He's thinking, "Oh crap, I got to face the cameras." and,
and the
and he's,
disaster that
he's
happened
freaking
yesterday
out
in
'cause he's
Wilmington,
dying.
Delaware, in federal court in Wilmington, Delaware, and the key also, Bill, is your whistleblowers from the IRS and the FBI and most likely ATF who are saying, well, at least I'm saying it from ATF side, this doesn't happen for those kind of cases. Pretrial diversion does not happen with this kind of serious cases. It's wrong. It shouldn't be happening. Hopefully, the judge does sticks it out, and he should take a felony for this. He should get his felony conviction out of this.
Everybody's wasting their time spinning their wheels over all these charges with him and the Bidens and the father and the this and that. In the end, if it's federal charges, the father's got power of the pardon.
He probably pardon him. He probably will pardon him. That because that's
So
what he's going to do.
everybody's wasting tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars talking
Our,
about.
our tax dollars being wasted, and he's going to do it because that's his son. That's the only son he has left, right? Because Bo Biden died from brain cancer, right?
Right.
And he needs to stop saying that he died in Iraq. He died from brain cancer. If you hear that, he's been saying it a lot to his son because he was in the military, but he was an attorney in the military, if I'm not mistaken. But he died not in Iraq as a veteran. He died in brain cancer in the United States, but he keeps on slipping up. He tells the wrong stories.
Right. So we're telling you the stories here for the record and for YouTube and everybody. These are educational stories, news stories that are in the
They
news
are.
to help prevent crime. We're talking about crime prevention. We're talking from the point of view of somebody, former law enforcement, former addict and prisoner, has a unique perspective and then trying to share our views of current affairs.
And from the work I did, I've done some of the worst violent offenders there are, firearms traffickers, armed drug traffickers. I come from a perspective where we know what we're talking about. He's been on one side, I've been on the other side.
And if you had to go in a hotel room or a house of a guy who you knew was running guns and you knew he was strung out on meth or coke, paranoid, jacked up,
Yeah,
you'd be way more on point or try to catch him outside of his residence because you
I don't want to go inside his house. I want to meet him outside. I get him in the driveway.
Yep, that person's way more prone to pull the trigger.
No, and you don't know what he's thinking. He could snap for any reason. And he said, you know what, I'm not going to pay you because the world doesn't make sense in your head at that time. It's all upside down. It's all upside down. So
for my viewer somebody who never tried cocaine, the feeling of paranoia. Imagine you're home alone at night, everybody's out, you hear a noise on the other side of the house, you get a little crowd, somebody in the house, they leave a door unlocked, there's somebody in here, who's here, or is my house haunted? That kind of feeling, amplify that by 1,000 when you're on coke.
Wow,
that's what somebody goes through when they're on cocaine, paranoid, and they should not be handling a gun. Case closed. Let's move on to the next story.
Yeah, and on top of that, he uses crack cocaine too, which is extremely addicting.
It really makes you paranoid.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So that's, folks, we'll keep posted on that. We'll back September is when the next hearing is. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens if he has to plead to a felony charge. He should, no doubt about it.
So now we're moving on to the movie Sound of Freedom.
Sure. Bill, what you tell? I've seen small trailers, clips about it. You've seen it. It's done. I think it's over $125 million. It's so far in the box office. Beat Indiana Jones. I think it's beaten everyone there. I think the only one that's tied with thing is Barbie. The Barbie movie.
I got out of prison over a year and a half ago after 18 years. It's the first time I set foot in a movie theater was to see The Sound of Freedom about a week and a half ago. And I put a review, and I'll say it again here. I gave it 5 stars. If I could have gave it 25 stars, I would have.
Wow, that's great.
Incredible story about an agent who, without giving away too much, he was a federal agent.
HSI, right? Homeland Security.
I believe so. And he was
Yeah.
busting traffickers. Tim Ballard. Tim Ballard's an American hero in my book, busting traffickers on this side. And he wanted to also rescue the kids that were from these other countries that were still being held. And he had
Yes.
some tips about where they were. Our government wasn't really allowed to finance the going after other countries' kids, but his supervisor was sympathetic and allowed that to go on for a little while. But then he had to shut it down. Well, Tim went and found like-minded people that were millionaires and billionaires to finance his undercover operations, and the
So,
result was
so he
enormous.
had to leave. He had to leave the government
Yes,
to do this
exactly.
as a private citizen.
Have you ever met him in real life? You being
No,
law enforcement?
I know some HSI agents, of course, and that I, remember, I used to be customs, and then customs later became HSI under Department of Homeland Security,
Right.
and there's a lot of people. There's an enormous, enormous, department. A lot of people there.
I have the review for the movie up on my YouTube channel. It's
Steve
all-
Ballard, his name, Steve Ballard.
Sorry,
Steve Ballard is his
Tim,
name.
I think it's Tim Ballard.
Tim
Yeah,
Ballard.
Tim Ballard, and then Jim Caviezel, who played Jesus in The Passion of the Christ,
Oh yeah, yeah.
stars him. I have the review, a 5-star review. If you want to see it and how emotional I get about this, it's right here on this YouTube channel. Plus, I'll put the link in the description so you can link right back to that. But
I was reading these faith-based production companies do not sit well in Hollywood,
no,
and that's why they get blackballed. And they said we don't want them being out there. I think the name of the production company is called Angels Production Company. I was reading, so I know sometimes Mel Gibson was behind the other one. He might have been also part of this one also. It sounds like a great story. I've obviously human trafficking has been going on for years, hundreds of years. Going
now I
on.
will put this 2 things out there. There's
Yeah.
a fan of mine who had some stuff, and we know this conspiracy nonsense all over the internet. Tim Ballard's story is too consistent. It's too much like scripted. And where are the grateful children and grateful parents speaking up for him right now? They've never come forward. I
I
just
don't know.
an interview he did on Fox where he said very soon some of the children are going to be start to do some.
That's good. I mean,
So there's all
but
kinds of
do you
stuff
want
out there.
that kind of publicity? Do you want that kind of exposure?
No, it's humiliating. It's embarrassing.
No.
One case, the father was tricked into bringing the child, the little girl and the little boy, to the traffickers. And when he went home and went back to get them, they were gone.
That people don't realize that's how they get a lot of kids into prostitution, right? They bring them all over the world. They force them at a young age to be prostitutes, destroy their lives, right? They don't recover. They make them junkies so they can't get out of there. They force them to take drugs, so they use them as property, and they can make money. That's what happens to these kids. So people know they're
we're giving
street prostitution.
we're giving our take on the current affairs and news and movies. From our point of view as a former prisoner and a former law enforcement person, we don't condone these activities. And
I want to see the movie. Sounds of Freedom sounds like a good one. There, everything I've read about. You know what? It doesn't really have the huge marketing it needs, but it's already made hundreds. So it's by word of mouth. Check it out. 125 million and counting. It has crushed Indiana Jones, which they spent a lot of money. But you know what? That shows you people are tired, and now they're talking about the new Tom Cruise movie that's coming out there. Can't remember right now, top of the head. He's done like 4 or 5 of them. Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible.
Yeah, I think people get tired of the same sequels, the same thing over and over.
I'm sick of Mission
Well-written
Impossible
movies.
I'm sick of Mission Impossible with him in it. Number one, when I became
Scientologist.
everybody knows I became a professional jewel and art thief. I went to locksmithing school. I wanted to be James Bond. I was raised on the old school James Bond movies. And
Yes, they're pretty good. I like Sean Connery.
Old Mission Impossible series with Peter Graves in it. It's like
Yes,
started off
good.
like white with the color. Those compelled me to say that would be a cool job. I'd like to work in federal law enforcement and for the CIA. How do I get those skills? And I eventually saw a commercial in New York City, New York School of Locksmithing.
To be that interesting.
And I took the course, and then I went bad and used the skills to go break into every damn thing.
And I think top of that, people tire Tom Cruise for his whole thing with Scientology too. And we've had a show about that too. And I wrote a book about that, about how dangerous of a cult are they, and all these big actors. And then what do they keep him there? How much he's worth allegedly over $600 million, and allegedly if you're part of that, you have to pay at least 10%. Has he paid him $60 million at least?
I know there's some allegations that when they go for their little deprogramming in the beginning, they record it all. So if people make admissions about embarrassing things,
A psychometer. Hey, it's called the psychometer for a reason. They get you in that psychometer. I wrote a book. He's
the
been divorced
cycle meter.
it's allegedly it cost him 3 marriages. Mimi Rogers, Nicole Kidman, and the last one he had, can't remember the top of her names in my book, but it's just people know what it is, and it's and people have talked about how it separates families, and how if you don't believe in it, they have the separation policy. You cannot talk to family members. What group does that to each other? Where it separates
What
families?
businesses do that? They call it excommunicating.
What? Yeah,
Okay, so let's get on to the next. Please watch Sound of Freedom. There's a way
yeah.
to get free
You like
tickets.
it?
Go to the trailer. The end of the official trailer for the movie tells you how to get free tickets. You can, if you have money, you can buy tickets and donate them to somebody, pay it forward.
That's right. I saw that.
And then there's ways if you don't have the money. So there's no excuse not to see this movie in the theaters. Get the free tickets and go see the movie.
Let's get the number over 200 million and send the message to Hollywood. You know, these are the kind of movies people want to watch.
Absolutely. There's Disney as well. About time they start cleaning up their act.
Yeah.
Okay, next story from the headlines, ripped from the headlines, as Gary Greenberg would say. what are we on to now? We're Joe
How about we
Biden.
talk about the possible Joe Biden impeachment inquiry that's going to happen in the House with Republicans saying, obviously the connection with Hunter and Ukraine, energy companies. Biden's brother, which is Hunter's uncle, also was involved in this mix. Also, involved with China, Ukraine. Neither one of these two have a background in energy. What do they know about this background other than that they have is a pay to play, what appears to be pay to play scheme. You pay us, we'll give you access to, at the time, Vice President Biden, right? That's what it was, a pay to play scheme. So they're going to look into it. Should he be impeached? Yeah. But unfortunately, if the Senate stays, Democratic, they don't have enough votes, just like, what happened with Trump. It's a waste of time, but at least it brings attention to people what's going on. So what's going to have an impact on in the election, and that's going to hurt him with RFK Jr., this inquiry, and everything else with Hunter. All of this eventually has a factor. At the end, his age and his health, I think, does him in.
Yeah. So if he gets impeached, which, like you said, the Democrat side won't do it.
Yeah.
But if he did, does he still have a window of opportunity to write pardons, or the day of the impeachment comes down, he's no longer president? How does that work?
Well, just like with Trump was impeached twice, and then it goes to like a trial, the Senate, right? And the Senate, you know what? They need 2/3 of the vote, 66 senators, and they couldn't get it with Trump. They're not going to get it because Democrats have the majority. So it's a waste of time there. But it sends a message to Biden and say, listen, what happened here, and that the voters at the end can hold them accountable for what's happened in the last few years. And at the end, it might cost him, a second term.
Well, guess what? As the impeachment proceedings unfold, it gives you material for about another 5 books.
I hope so. I like it. Remember in my book,
I already know where your mind's going.
last year I predicted Joe Biden, one and done. He's not going to get a second term. And I said that last year after all the disaster last year. And don't forget the border. Don't forget the foreign policy disaster. And then the border keeps on getting worse. We're keeping on getting, the border is a problem. Crime in this country is a problem. Major blue cities are suffering, and they're the reason why for lack of problems there.
So basically, you're still going to vote for Trump.
I don't know about that. I'm hoping it'll be DeSantis. Hopefully it's wrong. I'm a DeSantis guy. You know that. We agree to disagree. You're Trump. I'm DeSantis. But
try to let nonviolent prisoners die. I don't like DeSantis.
Yeah, I know you have the personal connection with him there. How about RFK Jr. and Biden?
He's a Democrat. I can't support some of their policies.
If he's an independent, he goes independent.
2 of the main policies that go against my faith, I can't publicly support that. I let people live their life, but don't rub it in my face.
Of course not, yeah.
And
I'm also very pro-life. I'm very pro-life.
I am too.
That's very important. Pro-life is important to me. All right.
So let's move on to the next one. Right, rip from the headlines, as Gary Greenberg would say from the National Enquirer, my best friend. Okay, so we're on to wait a minute. The escalation of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Yeah, it's been getting crazy with the drone attacks, right? Now the Ukrainians are using drone attacks in Moscow, and the Russians now have nuclear weapons in Belarus, right? This is getting out of control. I think how much have we spent already? Over 100 billion and counting in this conflict for a year and a half. They have secured most of the country, except for Dubans in Crimea area. Missaid that area, Donbass area. But it's been a lot of Russians been there for years also.
Right.
So maybe the solution there will be maybe have peacekeeping troops there, UN peacekeeping area, keep it independent, keep it autonomy, neutral autonomy, perhaps. But we're going to have to put an end to this soon because how much are we going to spend in this war and how much the bloodbath is going to go? And are we going to let it escalate out of control? This is where we have to come up with some creative ideas. And a year and a half already, this is not just you've got your country secure. You have to stop this.
I have a question for you. You're definitely well more read into this than I am, but I do see the allegations, and they're allegations that we see in the other news media trying to get to the bottom of it. That Zelensky is a Nazi. Zelensky's this and that. Why are we even defending this guy? Why are we helping him?
He's Jewish.
What's the story behind those allegations?
Zelensky is Jewish.
I know that. I've heard that. So then, where are these allegations coming from?
Well, remember, Putin had to create a reason to invade, right? A false red flag operation.
You're talking about Putin.
Putin, yeah.
Right.
Putin had to create something. So he remember, you forget the Zelensky's parents or grandparents were killed by the Nazis in Ukraine in concentration camps. He is Jewish himself. Right. He's the last thing being a Nazi, right?
Yeah, I wanted to clear that up because I know he's Jewish. Yet I still hear that allegation. I'm like,
Zelensky. Look up his family history. Look up Zelensky's family history and the atrocities committed against his family. He's a patriot for wanting to keep his country independent because remember, they've been independent from the Soviet Union for over 30 years, right? They're a free sovereign nation. Putin has his ambition to create a new, I've said before in other shows, a new Russia, not USSR, but he's not a communist. Putin loves money. He's a capitalist, but he loves power. He's a Tsar, right? He's a modern day Tsar with power, and that's what he wants. So let's keep an eye on this. But there has to be, like you said, we can't spend endless wars again, like we did in Afghanistan, like we did in Iraq. We have to have limitations. We have to have, yes, but there has to be. There's a peace treaty already out there. I understand that region is highly disputed, Donbass and Crimea, but the rest of the country is yours, right? Pretty much. We have to come up with a solution here because we're going to spend years like this, and at the end, we're going to spend $1 trillion in this war, like we did in Afghanistan. I mean, I agree with their freedom and independence, but they have a solution here, and the bloodbath has to stop. So
that was kind of the point of one of the people. They're saying the amount of money we're throwing at this, like you said, it has to stop. Why are they not doing anything here to get the homeless off the street, build massive shelters or hospitals or treatment centers for addicts? Why are they not doing any of that? Yet we're spending trillions overseas. Yeah. Why, are the Bidens so close to the Chinese? Some people say that the Chinese actually have blackmail material on the Bidens.
Possible. That's all out there.
I don't know. This is alleged. It's
alleged. I don't know. Maybe this inquiry by Congress is going to find some more things out for us. It's right. For the people. It'll be open. And when it starts, I suggest you guys watch it. It's fascinating.
Oh, absolutely. I was in prison when they did the impeachment one against Trump, and I learned so much. And I'll tell you what, I don't care for Alan Dershowitz because I know other things about him. He's a brilliant constitutional lawyer.
He is.
To hear him argue, I was taking notes. This guy is unbelievably skilled and talented.
Oh, he is.
He knows every nuance.
Remember, he got O.J. Simpson off.
Sorry?
He got O.J. Simpson off.
Right, and to hear him argue at the impeachment and on a talking head, I was a law clerk in prison. This guy is so knowledgeable and
he's good.
Knows the constitutional foundation. Yes, they're saying about this case, but no, what it really means is this because of these 4 cases. He right off. I had an attorney like that in South Florida, Michael Selnick, and one of the top attorneys in Florida. Selnick, oh my goodness, he was the same way. He can get before the judge and spit out case law and the reason why it meant something immediately. He was winning everything.
Yeah, these guys are good. When you're good, you know the ins and outs, and you know the loopholes, right? That's what's important. Case law is very important. That's how you get your clients out of technicalities, right? That's where it goes out. Reversal of Fortune. You ever read that book he wrote?
Which one?
Reversal of Fortune.
Oh,
early ones that I made a movie out of it. Pretty much reversing the one of his clients who was guilty. I think on a murder charge. I'm paraphrasing here of a wife. and he was able to get him off. And he was looking at X amount of years to acquittal. Similar to OJ,
Was
right?
that the Scarsdale diet doctor's case or something like that in New York?
I don't know for that one. It's similar, but he's been part of some major cases.
Right, of course.
And of course, Trump now, the impeachment, OJ. I mean, big names, no doubt about it.
He's also a Democrat, yet he argues very well for the Republicans. And then he was not allowed back to Martha's Vineyard over all this.
Well, talking about he's a professional, right? That's the way he should be. You should be a professional.
I absolutely agree, but I know things about him on a personal level, and so I have no respect for the man. But he's a constitutional scholar. That being said, we're going to wrap up another episode, and we have more to get to.
That was good, Bill. That was fun.
Right. Everybody, check out Ignacio, my co-host books. Join us every Saturday night at 8:00, right back here. Put your comments in, hit the like and subscribe, put the thumbs up. All that means a lot. Everybody knows we're trying to build this channel up. I have millions of fans on A&E Network for Inmate to Roommate, 11.1 million on TikTok. I'm trying to help shift my fans over to here so you can know who I am today, not the guy I was.
Yeah.
I'm not proud of what I did. I feel bad for the things I did. Sometimes you explain a story, you get a little excited, reliving your past, but in the end, it's the misery is not worth the momentary joy of having something, that I had all the time on my hands that I wanted to do what I wanted to do and all the money I wanted. Right now, things are a struggle, but guess what? I'm not looking over my shoulder anymore.
So you can sleep good at night, right, Bill? You can sleep good at night without worrying about sugar hitting your door.
Well, yes, I don't have to worry about them caving the door in or checking into a hotel and trying to use another name or switching hotels on a regular basis or watching my mirror all the time, who's following me. I still keep old habits with me, though, unfortunately. Like, I don't sit in a restaurant and ever keep my back to a door. I'm always my back to a wall, watching entrance for cops or for, bad guys or enemies. I can never. Everybody who knows me knows that. I don't care. You're sitting, please get up. I have to sit there.
For me, as a retired ATF agent, I'm looking for robbers, active shooters, bad people, right? And move. And
so you go to a restaurant, you don't want your back to the door either.
No, never. No, I haven't done that for 30 years. I always keep it to the wall. And always my suggestion, recommendation to anybody watching is find out the emergency exit anywhere you go. Because if a shooter comes out, if you're not armed, get your family out as soon as you can. And don't just cower. Get out. Because what they've shown historically, and I've written about it, they come and hunt you down. So don't just cower there. It'll be a horrible death. Go and get out.
Crime prevention techniques on William Steel. Steel a Spotlight, True Crime with Ignacio Esteban, retired ATF agent, my co-host, and me, William Steel, a guy who served 18 years in prison. We are trying to tell inspirational stories and really educate the public about crime prevention. Most of these guys go into retirement and you never hear from them again. They're going off to go hunting and fishing and hanging out with their families. This guy every day is on a show somewhere. I give him a lot of respect for teaming up with me. He knew of my reputation in South Florida, and it's just I'm still honored that you're on my shows, and I appreciate your belief in me, and it means a lot.
Yeah, and I think we're putting on a good product out there where people can learn a lot from them.
Yes, sir.
And
thank you again for joining. Links for his books and my books are in the descriptions. I write about true crime from the point of view of the victims.
You can see it right there.
Putting out some more books soon.
ATF Undercover, right there.
ATF Undercover. Thank you for joining.
Hey, guys.
All right. So we're ending at 109.07.
That's another good one. We got some good ones here. That's a good thing. Every week there's always good stuff to talk about. And these guys just keep on coming to hits, with the hunters and Joe Biden and the war.
Oh, we're never going to run out of material. The news never does.
No. Well,